Archaeological sites are discovered in all sorts of ways, you know, high-tech LiDAR surveys, ground surveys, but in other ways I found to be really effective also, and just by accident, growing up in Connemara, knowing a whole network of friends, family members. But one day I was coming out to Cleggan on the way to the lake below us here to go fishing, and I saw a man cross the street in front of me opposite Oliver's pub in Cleggan. I was a bit concerned about him, so I slowed down the car and I said, "Would you like a lift?" And he said, "Oh, I would," he said, "but I'm only going back the road." So I said, "Sure, hop in anyway, I'm going by your house." So on the way back he says to me, "And what do you do and where are you from?" I said, "Well, I'm from Clifton and I'm an archaeologist." At the time we'd been working on the whole area around Connemara. He said, "What?" He says, "You know, I've been waiting for years and years, more than 50 years to meet one of your crowd." I said, "Why is that?" Well, he said, "You know, when I was a kid, we had bogs up on Morning Mountain. And I remember we were cutting turf up there, and we came on across, as we cut down the bog, what I was convinced at the time was an ancient tomb. And nobody would believe me that it was a tomb. But all my life I was bothered and wondered about, was I right? Was it in fact a tomb?" And he said, "Would you come with me now to have it? I'll show you where it is." I said, "Geez, I'd be delighted to go with you." So we parked the car, got out and opened the gate up onto the mountain commonage. But as we were heading, I could see there's traces of ancient walls sort of began to appear, just barely, gobamachas and portach, literally just peeping out of the bog. And he said, "Look, you can see over there's some stones projecting." But as we got there, he was getting more excited. I was anxious to run ahead, but I didn't want to, because I didn't want them to leave him behind. And so we were sort of linking arms, crossing little shucks and shrahans on the way in. And John just said, "What do you think? Is it a tomb?" I said, "Well, I can't be sure yet, but it's certainly looking like one from here." And then as we went around the back, I said, "John, this is definitely a tomb." You could clearly see the northern chamber is obviously a chamber. It's got a big upright stone. It's got a white quartz boulder set in it. You can see the edges on the north side of the gallery are still there. That's a displaced capstone. So we walked around it again and again. We looked at it, we touched it with our hands. We were so excited. And of course, my excitement wasn't ending to John Joe's excitement, because finally, he, as a knowledgeable man, which he clearly was, having spent years and years out of Connemara, out of his home village, he now back and he was able to add this immense new site to the whole history of Ireland, the history of Connemara, and in particular to his own little patch of the world here around Cleggan Bay. So, you know, what a lovely, lovely ending to our, just a fortuitous chance meeting, watching a man getting out of the pub, going across the street, and being picked up by a young archaeologist who was as excited about archaeology then as he is to this day. So, you know, it was one of these lovely events in my life. John Joe, as you know, didn't leave Oliver's empty-handed, and we sat down and he pulled out of the inside of his pocket his big jacket that he'd on, a nag and a whiskey. And I often come here in this beautiful spot and I think of that lovely day and we had together just up on the side of the hill here. So we'll have a drink to John Joe O'Malley, whose contribution to the Cleggan, the history of this whole area has been immense, adding this extraordinary 6,000-year-old tomb to this cultural assets that we have in Connemara. So this is to you, John Joe. Gurmil Magat.